And part of the job of night watchman was to guard the city at night. And to do this, you really had to have a guard dog to help you. So old Jock went out and got himself the biggest, most ferocious little Skye Terrier. A wee little dog, lovely long hair, an adorable pet. Useless guard dog. I don't think old Jock and the dog, which he named Bobby, solved a great deal of crime. But they were very well loved. Everyone knew old Jock and Bobby as they did their rounds of the town. Unfortunately though, 2 years after getting his dog Bobby, disaster struck. John Gray died of tuberculosis, TB, a big killer at the time. So he's buried here in Greyfriars Graveyard. At his funeral, his dog Bobby came along to the funeral. Everyone thought this lovely, the dog at the funeral, watching his master. But it did not end there. Bobby stayed by old Jock's grave for the next 14 years. The ultimate act of pet loyalty and devotion, Part of the reason we know about this man here, James Brown, not the legendary soul singer, but James Brown as sexton, who worked at the church here. One of the many people who looked after Bobby while he was sat by the grave. Eventually, after 14 years, and everyone around Scotland would come here to see Bobby, but Bobby himself did pass away. And when he passed away, the people of Edinburgh felt it was only right he should be buried here too. He surely earned that right, sitting there 14 years, to be buried by his master's grave. But the church said no. The church would not let Bobby be buried here, because this is consecrated ground. And to be buried here in the graveyard, in this consecrated area, you have to be two things. First of all, you have to be a Christian. No one was sure what Bobby was. He could have been a Buddhist or anything really. But secondly, you also have to be human as well. And there's no disguising the fact that Bobby was a dog. So they would not let him be buried in the graveyard. Instead, they sort of compromised and they built him just outside the graveyard. So we're going to head up there to Bobby's grave now. And people do come from all over the world. I mean, I've had people from Australia and everything. I've spent my whole tour when we get to Bobby's grave. I think it's now Greyfriars have become more famous perhaps a little gold.
Помнишь это про эпиграмму? Старожевский встретил точно горнице эпиграмму. Подумал. Хорошо.
I'm going to have to erect your sort of illusion here. One of the problems of this is still within the graveyard. In fact, Bobby is not buried actually here. He's buried just outside the graveyard, possibly even in a car parking space. No one's actually quite sure. This isn't actually sort of a mark for his grave, it's merely a shrine to Bobby. People do come from all over the world and lay things at the shrine. A lot of soft toys, often flowers. And we also get a lot of travel tickets. I think people feel 14 years by one graveside. Bobby should get out now and travel a bit. And Bobby's done very well. Bobby has inspired a lot of different stories. Lassie, for instance. And was even a Disney movie about Greyfriars Bobby. I don't quite know how to do a whole feature-length film about a dog by a graveside, but Disney, I'm sure they could pad it out with some songs and so on. So this is Greyfriars Bobby, and we will head shortly to a wonderful, adorable little statue that's been erected to him. But first, I'd just like to point out the museum across the road.